Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Three Man Weave. I'm your host, Jesse Kass. We're here for another great month of basketball discussion here on BronxNet, and I've got my two good friends here to my right, Nican Robinson and Omar Spahi. Guys, thanks for joining me. Let's get into it right away. Cheers! We're here to talk some basketball. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to, if you have your wine at home or whatever beverage you prefer,
great juice,
join us. Yeah, whatever you got, join us here. So. It's been, we're winding down the NBA regular season. By the time this show goes up, we'll be pretty much a few games away or about a week away from the playoffs beginning. Still a few things to be determined as far as the seeding, but most of the teams, are, at least in the West, the 8 are pretty much set. The seeding is all over the place. The East, there's still 4 or 5 teams that are out that could get in. That's a whole mess, but it's been a wild season. Before we get into the playoff picture, we wanted to go through our season awards. And I know you guys have done your research, you've done your homework. Let's start at the tippy top, the MVP. Who you got?
On the count of 3, James Harden. I mean, there's nobody else as far as I'm concerned. I hear all of the chit chat and the conversation, arguments about Antetokounmpo versus James Harden. Who deserves it more? James Harden. Straight up. You know, you take that guy off of the team, they don't make the run from being at the bottom of the rung in the Western Conference all the way to the top.
Third right now, yeah.
Third. I'm just saying, without him, they don't run in that way. They don't run at all. Sure, they run up and down the floor, but they don't run. Without him, the monstrous games he's had, James Harden, point blank.
No, I disagree. I think it's about the best player on the best team, okay? And so the best player on the best team is Antetokounmpo. He's putting up the wins. He's brought them so much higher than they should be. He's not carrying the ball as much as Harden. He doesn't have the ball in his hands as much, but he's still the reason that the Bucks are number one. The best player on the best team has to be Antetokounmpo.
He has so much talent surrounding him, not to mention who we'll get to in a second.
So does James Harden.
Coach of the year, who I believe is the coach of the year, okay?
You think James Harden's the coach of the year?
Mike Budenholzer, I'm just saying, he is the coach of the year. I mean, he's running the X and O's, he's running the show, he's getting these guys and playing to their potential. James Harden loved D'Antoni. He does not have that. Chris Paul was out for a while, and he's literally put this team on his back. The man is lifting weights after games, for God's sake.
I mean,
what more does he have to do?
I do think it's a two-man race. For a little while, we heard Paul George in that conversation, and he's had an unbelievable year, but the Thunder are currently battling in the 7-8 spot now all of a sudden, so that kind of takes him out of the running a little bit. I lean towards James Harden as well. And you look at the injury factor and the team that he was playing with for that good middle chunk of the season where they needed to stay alive. It wasn't Chris Paul and it wasn't Capella. They were both out. You know, they signed Kenneth Faried off the scrap heap, and, you know, he obviously did really well. But, you know, he was playing with guys, you know, the second best player on the floor a lot of times was Austin Rivers. And then you had G-Leaguers out there, and Harden putting up this insane 30-point streak. He's gone over 50, I believe, 8 times now.
Yeah, this is
ridiculous number.
This is the most a single person is on pace to score since Michael Jordan did it in like 87, 88 for a single season.
Jordan averaged 37 that year. Harden's got 36.6 right now a game. So every night he's coming to the gym putting up 36.
And then after the game he's going to lift weights, guys.
But I don't think it's about who can score the most points. I think it's about the best player on the best team. I think that's what the MVP is, and that's why I think it has to be
valuable, though.
Not the best. It's not the MVP. It's the MVP. And just said the most valuable guy on that squad. Yes, one can argue that
if he was the number one team in the West, I would definitely. Say
you're gonna go 1 for 1. That's a ridiculous argument. But it could only be James Harden. Straight up.
I do think Giannis, if you take him off the Bucks, they're definitely significantly worse. But I still think they could be a playoff team.
They could be.
Anyone in the playoff team could be in the East.
That's true. That's a good point. But if you take Harden off this team during that stretch, they're not only not in the playoffs, they're, you know, toasting with the Lakers right now near the bottom of the conference.
And there's nothing that D'Antoni can do. There's nothing that D'Antoni can do to coach that team into the playoffs if Harden's not there. Mike can. At least a 7 seed. Mike can without Giannis in the East. Yes.
I can see that. I agree with you.
All right, so 2 against 1, Harden. You were talking about Coach of the Year, so obviously you tipped your hand, but you're going with Budenholzer?
Yes. Well, and so here's what I will say. I will say yes, and I will also say a very close second, and they can swap, is Mike Malone. I said earlier in the year that Sacramento, I said something like this, that Sacramento was stupid for getting rid of Mike Malone. Because at the time, during the start of his second year, they were starting to have, they had a nice little run. Yeah, they didn't have a winning record, but they had a nice little run. You could see that things were turning around. He got Boogie Cousins to listen to him and play for him, and then they fired him.
Yeah.
What do you do with all that firepower? You do exactly what he did. You go straight to Denver. You're there with a bunch of holdover pieces, if you will, draft picks that that are well coveted or what have you, but just not big names. You put your system in, you win. Selfless basketball. And you put Jokic in the middle, have him pass and do the things that he does. I mean, they're explosive. They're nuclear, man.
What about you? Who's your pick?
My pick is, those guys are definitely in the top. I think there's 4 people. There's Budenholzer, there's Malone, there's Nate McMillan with Indiana. And my choice, Doc Rivers. Because
okay.
Look where the Clippers are right now. I mean, the standings can fluctuate by the end of the sentence because of how close the West is, but they're currently 5th as we're recording this.
This is true.
They've traded half their team twice now in the past year. And still...
This is also
still killing it.
And still playing well. They've won 11 out of 12 as we record this. And this is... Listen, you don't want to discount their talent that they have. I think we're seeing firsthand when Gallinari's actually healthy how good he is. Of course, Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. They have good players, but... to buy into his system with no stars and everyone plays their role, and for them to be this successful where people didn't have them making the playoffs, and they're going to be they could end up as the 3 seed.
Yeah.
They're 2 games out of the 3 seed.
I agree. I 100% agree. I also expect this from Doc Rivers. I expect this from this man. If there's anyone that could take a team and could turn it around and put it in playoff position or close to and pull the most out of his players, it is Doc Rivers. Out of those 4 you named, he is totally number 4, maybe 6.
I'm going to give you one more reason why he's number 1. Granted, a lot of these guys don't always play the most minutes or in crunch time, but the starting lineup. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, rookie, 20 years old.
Superstar.
Starting shooting guard, Landry Shamet, 22-year-old rookie. Center, Ivica Zubats, 22-year-old center. They've got 3 players.
Yeah,
I know, Zubats. 3 players who are 22 or younger, 2 of them who are rookies, and they're starting 5. And they are dominating teams.
And I get that. And I get that. I'm just saying, Mike Malone is number 1. That is Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers has been doing this for a long time. He can pull a team out of the gutter if he wants to. Will they go deep in the playoffs? Remains to be seen. But he can do that. He has the ability to do that. Mike Malone, my goodness, coming out of nowhere with a second place, one game or 1.5 games behind, or half a game behind the Warriors.
Yeah.
Nobody saw this coming. Nobody.
And so,
Omar, who do you have?
I hate to tell you guys, but you're both wrong. It's actually, you mentioned the Warriors, it's got to be Steve Kerr. I mean, he's...
You're just going to play me again. You're going to play me again.
I got to play you like that, man. Steve Kerr continues to coach this team with a ton of superstars, a ton of egos, and he's continuously done it well. If you're able to continuously add big personalities like Boogie Cousins, Kevin Durant, Draymond, Curry, Clay, year after year, and still have that kind of success. The Lakers did it with Gary Payton and Karl Malone and Shaq and Kobe. Even though it was towards the end of their careers, they fell apart. So the fact that Steve Kerr is doing that, and they're still winning, they're still going to win it all this year. It's all, I feel like, because of Steve Kerr being able to be a great coach.
Play me against my own team, man.
A curveball from Omar.
It's cold right there.
But there's a lot of great coaches, like we said. I think, like I said, Nate McMillan, I don't think he'll win it, but what he's done with that Indiana team, with Oladipo going out, the fact that they're still 16 games over 500. Yeah, I mean, Sabonis is a stud, Miles Turner. And then, similarly to the Clippers, just a lot of solid role players that know their role and play really hard. Darren Collison, Wes Matthews, Bogdanovich, of course. So, yeah, it's just a lot of very evenly solid guys.
Mike Malone's still number 1.
Got you, Doc. All right, so let's move on. Nican, I think you brought an accessory with you for our next.
Of course I did, because everyone loves a little rookie chain. Guys, this
Got the
rookie
rookie chain.
of the year. My rookie of the year, if it's not obvious already.
Is that the rookie monster voice?
If it's not obvious already, Luka Doncic. I'm just saying, I'm wearing this for you. Do I need to say any more? The guy is out. He's 21, 5 and 7.6 rebounds as a rookie. They say he's 17. I really think he's 13. I'm just saying. He's a monster. The way he playing me against myself and my team took out our team the other night. The Golden State Warriors blasted them by 40.
Yeah.
Both him and Dirk Nowitzki just killing us. His game is beyond, 28-year-old's years. His wisdom, his IQ. I mean, he is absolutely amazing, and he's been consistent from the beginning of the year all the way throughout the end. Rookie of the week, there's no doubt. No competition.
Omar, do you have doubt?
Yeah, it's not about how you start. I feel like Luka started really hot, and then Trae Young has come out of nowhere. He started off not so hot, but he's finishing strong. He's finishing out of his mind. NBA players are just kind of getting behind him, and I feel like he's the dark horse. I feel like he's the dark horse to come and snatch it from Luka at the last minute. I think he's the one who's going to come in there.
It's like a popularity contest. Of course, the NBA players are going to get behind Trae Young. Nobody. He's Luka Doncic he's a European savior, if you will. I'm not sure how I play over well, but guys coming from Europe are not supposed to do what he's doing in this league
Right away.
Yeah. And so it's no brainer. Yes, Trae Young is amazing, and he will be a force from here on out. Luka Doncic, man, this one's for you.
What about you, Jesse?
For you.
I mean, I'm really happy for Trae Young. We kind of talked about that trade when it happened after the draft, and we held back. We said we think Trae can have a solid career. We didn't bash him like a lot of other people did, and when he got off to a slow start, we were saying we don't really know what he could be, but now we can see he's great, and he can be good for a really long time. So that's good for him, and it's good that he'll get a good second place runner-up and Rookie of the Year to Luka Doncic, who deserves it. I mean, Trae Young has come on really strong, as you said, but it's not like Luka's fallen off in his finish either. He's recorded back-to-back triple-doubles. He's got like 7 of them this year. He's the Rookie of the Year. He's the best rookie, and I think it's a far and away. Although Trae Young that trade doesn't look as crazy as it initially did on draft night. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, not at all. And you're absolutely right. Coming on after Valentine's Day, after the NBA All-Star Weekend, he's definitely it started clicking.
Something clicked, and he just went, "I got this now, and I know how to play NBA basketball all of a sudden." So
we'll see if that holds over to the beginning of next year. And I think it will.
I think there won't be a sophomore slump for him. I think he's figured it out, calling it now. No sophomore
I see big things for Trae as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Defensive Player of the Year. Who you guys got in that?
I'll let you go first.
No,
I have my Klay Thompson.
Oh, okay.
Klay Thompson.
Why Klay Thompson?
So here, what I'm not a big fan of is everyone looking at steals and going, "Hey, this person is an amazing defender." I'm not saying that stealing the ball twice a game or 2.5 times a game is not. It doesn't tell the tale of you being a good defender. Night in and night out, Klay Thompson gets in your butt. Period. Straight up. He's on you. He's on you like glue.
Okay.
Now, the numbers may not show it, but he is the toughest defender consistently every single evening.
Now, do you think he has a chance to win it? Like, is that a real prediction?
Because we all like numbers, I don't think he'll win it.
Okay.
But straight up, if he's guarding you, you feel it, you know it, you see it. His help defense, his on-ball defense, his intensity. To me, Klay Thompson's a Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay. Omar, who do you got?
For me, I'm thinking about it, and I like so many big men because I feel like it classically goes to a center. In my mind, I'm thinking of like Miles Turner's been great. I'm thinking of Jokic. I think he's been a force on offense and on defense. And I think both those guys could be Defensive Player of the Year.
I mean, big men, it's much harder for wing and guard players to get it.
Yeah.
I do think, Rudy Gobert is always in that mix.
Oh yeah.
I would lean towards someone who I think will get it partially because he has been one of the best defenders in the league, and also because people feel like he's an MVP candidate, and that's Paul George for what he's done with Oklahoma City. He's always guarding the best player in the other team, and he's taken his offensive game to another level, which doesn't really mean much for the Defensive Player of the Year award, but he is, you mentioned steals, tied for the league lead in steals, and also just, great deflections, straight up defense. It's not just a flashy number. The steals actually mean something, whereas James Harden, who also is tied for league in steals, that one might not mean as much, but you give him credit for that as well.
Why do you give Paul George more credit than James Harden?
Oh, because James Harden.
Because you look at their one-on-one defense.
He doesn't know where he is on defense. He has no clue where he is.
We already gave James the MVP.
Yeah,
He's
James.
fine,
Yeah, whatever.
Has anyone ever won them both at the same year? Defensive player? Do you guys know if that's ever happened?
I feel like Michael Jordan might have done that.
Yeah, but I don't even know.
That would be my first guess.
Wilt Chamberlain also had to have done it, probably like a couple times.
Second guess.
Yeah.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Bill Russell?
Yeah, maybe Bill Russell.
Bill Russell,
sure.
yeah, I don't even know if they had the award back then.
Yeah. They did. He just wrote it to himself.
Yeah.
I'm the best. Yeah.
There's only 5 teams in this league. I'm just going to go ahead and write myself in.
All right, next we've got one that should be a no-brainer, although I think Nican's going to disagree. We've got the 6th man of the year. We just had Dwayne Wade basically give the assurance that it should go to this other gentleman who is a 6-man legend, the underground GOAT.
The underground GOAT.
But Nican, over there, the 6th man of the year. Who do you think it is?
6th man of the year, I'm going to go with the Oklahoma City Thunder's very own Dennis Schroeder. Just saying. So, number one, you bring him off the bench, you pair him up with Russell Westbrook. I think he elevates Westbrook's game. His game is already unmatched. He's speedy. He can knock down the open three. He can beat you off the dribble. He defends well. He's such a good complement to the starting unit whenever they pull someone out. He's extremely invaluable as a 6th man. Then if you sit everyone down and then he's just the focal point of the offense, which usually he isn't, but he forces his own way to become that, he carves out his own space and really dominates you. Perfect pick for 6th man of the year. I know everyone wants to get it, but Dennis is the dude.
I mean, Nican, you're always right, but this time you're wrong. It's Lou Williams. I mean,
I know who everybody wants. I get it.
I mean, it's not even one. It's just, you look at Lou's numbers. He's averaging 20 points a game in 26 minutes a game. Also 5 assists, so he's not just a shooter. He's number 2 in the whole NBA in fourth quarter points, behind James Harden, who's having one of the best offensive seasons ever. He's one of the best clutch players in the league. He scores at his size and stature at an incredible rate. He also just had the record for most points off the bench in NBA history. He's gone over 40 twice. He's gone over 30 like 10 times. I mean, it's Lou.
And I get it.
And second place is Montrezl Harrell.
I was gonna say that's my guy right there. That was my thing right there. I was gonna say, it has to be either Montrezl or Lou, because the Clippers are killing you with their bench. They don't have a superstar, so it means that it has to go past their 5. It has to be the whole team, and I feel like the 6th man is really like the team award that everyone's playing out of their mind, and I feel like it's either Montrezl or Lou.
Lou Williams is a starter in a 6-man jersey.
I agree, but he still only plays 26 minutes a game.
Ginobili, yeah.
This is true. It's true. Manu Ginobili was a 6th man was a starter in a 6-man's jersey. I'm just saying.
That's fair.
Dennis could be that as well, but on this team, he definitely is not. When he jumps on the floor, he actually elevates the game of the Thunder. Lou Will is gonna get it. All right, he's gonna get it. But my vote is still for Dennis.
Okay, and I do want to mention, you mentioned Schroeder elevating some of his other teammates. Something we didn't even talk about, just because the Thunder have kind of dipped a little bit recently. It's going to be the 3rd straight year that Westbrook is averaging a triple-double, and we don't even talk about it at all. That's mind-blowing in its own right.
I mean, for me, it was crazy growing up and hearing this legend of the Big O, Oscar Robertson, averaging a triple-double, and I was like, no, that's not real. That's not possible.
Yeah.
And then now it's 3 years with the same player averaging a triple-double. Like, that's not human. Like, you're going to look back and be like, dude, no. Because, like, getting a triple-double used to be like, oh, like, that's a once in a season thing.
Yeah.
Like, that is a big deal when it happens. And to do it night in, night out, that's, like, mind-blowing.
And he's changed his style of play.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's not as aggressive or as hurried or rushed, or he's not forcing things like he was in the past 2 years. So even he's changed his style of play, and he's still averaging a triple-double.
Yeah, and say what you will about stat padding. Go out there and try to get a triple-double.
Yeah.
Even if you are hunting things like that's still not an easy thing to do.
no matter what, man.
Extremely tough. Extremely tough.
All right, so we just have to give Westbrook his credit on that. So
if they draw I'm not saying the Warriors will be a 2nd seed, number 2 seed, okay? But if they are,
but it's a possibility.
it's a possibility, whatever. Yeah. If they draw the Thunder in the first round, holy.
That's a matchup.
Man, that's a great matchup right there. Love to see that. We'll beat them, but
yeah, the Warriors sweep them. It's fine.
Sweep them, whatever.
Maybe a gentleman's sweep. We get them in 5 or something.
Yeah, the gentleman's sweep. All right, good to know. Good to know.
All right. Before we still have some time, but before we get toward the end, we did mention Omar. You got your Lakers shirt. It's official. They've been eliminated from the playoffs.
Big E.
They did not make it with LeBron. Just what are your thoughts in this season? What went wrong?
It hurts. It hurts a lot. In my soul, it
no
hurts.
thoughts, only feelings.
No, it sucks. You know, it really sucks because as a huge LeBron fan, you can't help but look at the last 10 years, and not only has he made it to the playoffs every one of those past 10 years, he's made it to the finals. And the fact that he, for the first time on the Lakers, a new team where they were doing good, they were on the upswing, he comes in and essentially everything blows up and doesn't work out. It makes me worried, not only for this year, about the future. LeBron's there for 4 years. He's here with us for 4 years. But if this first year is telling, we have a lot to figure out. I think the Pelicans really played us. I think they're a big reason we didn't make the playoffs. I think their sabotage absolutely worked. And I feel like it sucks because the Lakers have a target on their back. There's a sense of, like, they are one of the greatest dynasties in all of sports. And I feel like it's tough because people are going out of their way to sabotage them. Like, the Pelicans, you look at, like, if they weren't the Lakers, I think they could have had... They wouldn't have that same target, but because they've been dominant throughout so many different eras, you know, in the early 2000s, the late 2000s, the 80s, that, you know, it's tough to be a Laker fan right now, but you got to stick out with it and hope that they figure it out. But at this point, you don't know if it's will or they won't.
Yeah, I do think that's part of that is true, that other teams do not want to help the Lakers, and it's similar. It can be in other sports where they don't want to help the Yankees or the Red Sox or just the teams that always do really well. I do think there's some that I feel like it's kind of a 50-50 thing where some of that is just those other teams being petty. There's other examples of the Lakers in their ownership being a little obnoxious and disrespectful. So, you know, that could go which way, but it's still surprising. I mean, we all in our predictions said that they would make the playoffs.
Top 5.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I thought it was going to be top 5, but you know, looking back on it, realistically, you have LeBron, who is aging. Still an amazing, you know, otherworldly
talent, absolutely.
You know,
but
but he's aging.
He's not getting any younger, and
he's not getting any younger, and he wants to win now, which means that there's no patience to wait for the younger guys that are on the team to develop, because they're going to be great in 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years, 4 years, they're going to be great. Lonzo Ball is going to be amazing. Ingram's going to be awesome. Kuzma's already there. He just needs to, you know, there's another year or so, but LeBron doesn't have the time. Also, with Magic in the front office of the team that they put together, it comes back to bite you in the butt. And the other thing that cannot be, I am not apologizing for them not making the playoffs. What I am saying is, LeBron doesn't get hurt at Christmas, this is a very different story.
I agree.
I also agree. But he is going to play still 60-plus games, and they're under 500 with him in the lineup. Granted, he had to work his way back from an injury.
Which he's still not back from.
Which he's still not fully back from. But I don't think he should be immune to criticism. We sung his praises all the time.
I think the Lakers should have stepped up without him, and they didn't.
And even when he came back, they were right there in the playoff picture. And, you know, he had the whole thing about activating playoff mode early, and it just, you know, didn't work for them. And
it's a good headline.
I'm worried about it. I'm worried about the future. He's getting older every year, and I think that it's they have to make a huge trade. They have to get somebody. If not, I think the Lakers and LeBron are going to fade into insignificance, because I think they're going to look back on this time with LeBron like they do with Jordan and the Wizards. And to me, that's scary. Like,
it's going to be, you don't want to go as far, but it could be a make or break summer for them. If they don't get one of those big guys or make a trade, or for Anthony Davis, if they can actually
come on, Kyrie.
If they don't get Kyrie, any one of the big free agents, if they strike out and have to go middle tier or nothing, you know, if they go Chris Middleton or whatever it is at that second, third level of star player, then then they're going to be in trouble for a while.
They have some decisions to make, and it's really like a fork in the road. And my thing is, do you keep the young guys and continue to develop and try to surround them with some talent that doesn't cost as much, but can still fit into the system of whatever that's going to be? Or do you let the young guys go and bet all your chips on someone who is Anthony Davis's caliber? And do you watch these young guys become D'Angelo Russell? Do you watch these young guys do well on another team like Brook Lopez? Do you watch these young guys go and develop and flourish like the big man on
Julius
Randle? So what do you do? And LeBron puts them in the middle of this problem. I hate to use the P word, but he puts them in a problem gives them a dilemma.
I think 100% you ship off the young talent for known talent. It's always been the Lakers' way to go out and get big names and get them on the team after they've developed. You don't want to let the other people go. Let go of anyone and everyone right now. We're holding on to this like, oh, they're all going to be great in a few years. It's like, we have to win now. We only have this much of a window with LeBron being great. Look at how the Lakers have done it. You know, it's like, sure, they drafted Kobe, but they traded for Shaq. They traded for Pau Gasol. They gave away Marc Gasol, who was the same thing. He was supposed to be better than his brother. And without that trade, they wouldn't have won. And the Lakers have always done that. You know, they went after Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You know, they drafted Magic, but they went after Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So I think that they have to go after making some big trade to make this thing actually happen.
I mean, if they're on LeBron's timeline, then yeah, they have to go for established stars. And some of these young guys will probably be really good, but as you said, you kind of have to go with the known, as Omar said. And LeBron, he's not going to get any younger. He's going to be 36 next season. So we'll see what happens with that. Before we close it out, LeBron's obviously aging, still playing really well. The potentially next LeBron or next phenom is playing in the NCAA tournament. What do you guys think of Zion? We haven't really had a chance to talk about him on the show, but your thoughts on Zion Williamson before we get on out of here.
He's the man.
Yeah, by the time this is all over, we'll have seen how the NCAA tournament played out. But I think it's not going to matter. Lock in first pick, locked in NBA superstar, rookie of the year. You know, he's going to be
next year. Zion is going to be you.
I mean, you talk about that generational talent. I think he has that. He already has that star quality. We haven't seen this. I've never heard of the NCAA giving a camera to one person before. It's always been a team thing, and it's like, nope, we got a Zion cam because Zion's going to be the next.
He's phenomenal. You watch him play. He does things that you've never seen a freshman in college do before. The way he jumps, I mean, he can knock down a jump shot, I guess, when it's on and when he wants to. He can handle the ball. He's got moves. He's strong. His hustle, second chance points, offensive rebounds. He's 6'8" and
285
and chiseled.
Yeah,
you know?
I've heard certain people say like, "Oh, he won't be able to bully people in the NBA." Why not? All the power forwards are 220 pounds. He's 280.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he'll be just fine. And you see, it's not just bully, like you said. He's skilled. He can dribble. He can pass. He's going to be an athlete.
Sky's the limit. And Ja Morant is right after him.
Yeah, it's going to be a loaded draft. It's sweet.
It's interesting because I remember like it was a big deal when LaMelo was playing Zion in high school and all that, and Zion's team actually absolutely crushed him. And I feel like that's just going to be just the very beginning for him just going back, and you're going to see how good he's going to become.
It's going to be wild. Zion crushed it. You guys re-crushed it here. It's time to say goodbye. But let's cheers one more time. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of 3 Man Weed. We'll talk to you again next month.